Hi, today I'm going to tell you how you can spell your name using DNA. So you might have heard people talking about DNA before. Maybe if you're really good at something, people might say that's in your DNA. Or maybe you've heard about DNA fingerprinting or your genetic code. DNA is how information is stored in biological systems. So DNA looks like two strands that are twisted round each other, a double helix. But if we unwound it and took just one strand and looked at it, you'd find that it consists of four different building blocks called G, C, A, and T. Sometimes you might see a U instead of a T. So the information that's stored in DNA is only useful once it's read and translated into something else. So if you think of a recipe, that's only useful once you've got the ingredients and cooked your final meal. So DNA is only useful once we've translated it into something else. And DNA is translated into protein molecules. And proteins are more complicated molecules that have 20 different building blocks, each of which is made up from a single letter, can be represented by a single letter. Now, words in our language can be really short, just a couple letters, or really, really long with lots of letters. But when you read DNA, every word is 3 letters long. And each of those 3 DNA letters spells out just one single letter of the protein alphabet. So I've made that a bit clearer. Here's a table. So I'm showing on the left-hand column are the single letters of the protein alphabet, and in the right-hand column, the three different DNA letters that come together to spell out that one protein letter. So, for example, an A in a protein could be spelled using GCT in DNA, or GCC, or GCA, or GCG. But some letters, for example, like an M, can only be spelt using the DNA code ATG. And each of these groups of 3 DNA letters are called codons. Now, you may already have worked out that we might have a bit of a problem. So I said there was 20 different letters in the protein alphabet. There's also a stop character. But in our alphabet, there are 26 letters. So in the protein alphabet, there's no B, Z, X, J, U, or O. So if your name is Boris Johnson, you're going to find it quite difficult to spell your name using this code. So if your name contains any of these letters, you're going to have to be a bit creative. So for example, if you've got a Z in your name, could you substitute it with an S? Or if you have a U, perhaps you could substitute it with a V because they look quite similar, even though they have different sounds. But if your name really is Boris Johnson, you're going to have to be quite imaginative, and perhaps you could spell out a different word instead. So science, perhaps, or you could make something for someone else who's helped you that spells out thanks. So now I'm going to take you through how you can spell out your name with my name. So my name is Alice, and here I've written my name down in a column. And then I just go to the list of showing the single letter building blocks and their different DNA codons. And so for an A, for example, I could choose any of the 4 codons that are listed. And then for the L, I'll go further down the table and I've got 6 different codons I could choose from. It doesn't matter which one you choose, they're all equivalent. And so here's my name, and next to it I've written down, I've chose the first codon listed in the table for each letter. And then underneath, I've written them down one after the other, just as it would be in DNA. But actually what I decided now was that I didn't like the way this looked because there's too many T's in it. And I thought that when I turn it into a bracelet, we're going to do this in a second, there'd be too much of one colour. So I actually went back to the codon table and chose different codons instead. And so that's what I've written in the second column. And then when I've written them out underneath the first one, you can see that the letters are more evenly distributed. Now I'm going to spell my name, turn my name into a bracelet. So what I need to decide is which colour of bead I'm going to use to represent each letter. So in our guide box of beads, we've got lots and lots of different colours of beads. And so here I've shown the colours I've chosen. And so I've also written them down so that later on I can translate my message back again if I forget. So I've chosen dark pink for G and light pink for C, and then blue and green for A and T. And then all I have to do is to take a bit of elastic and tie a knot in one end. Now don't tie it too close to the end, and then start threading on your beads. So for my A, I chose a codon GCA, and so they are my 3 beads sitting on the elastic. And then I've just gone ahead and threaded on all the other beads, then double checked it against the sequence, and I've spelt my name in DNA. And then all I did was I tied a knot at the other end of the beads to stop them moving around too much, and then tied a knot to keep the 2 ends together, and there's my bracelet with my name spelt in DNA. And so here's a reminder again of the different codons. Go ahead and have fun. Thanks.